Right, hello everyone. Welcome back to our second interview of the interview series 30 Minutes With. Last week we had Scott Brown. Very pleased with the reception that podcast got. Very glad to Scott for joining us. Very pleased that he came on and enjoyed his interview with us. This week I am joined by Danny Lloyd, Salford City's winger who went from selling bins to hitting footballs in top bins and doing a superb job at doing it. Danny, welcome to the podcast.
Hi James, nice to speak to you again.
Yeah, really good to have you back on. Not playing enough for our liking, Danny. You've got to get you back out on the pitch a bit more often this season.
Yeah, it's trials and tribulations of full-time football. When you're not playing, it's difficult, but you just got to keep going and ticking over and wait for your chance when it hopefully arrives, and then it's then up to you to take it and get your share back.
Indeed. Well, we're going to anxiously wait and see how that pans out for you, because obviously we're a big fan of yours on this podcast.
Thank you.
This is 30 Minutes With, so we've got half an hour to chat with you and ask you a few questions about pretty much a little bit of everything. So we try not to keep it just about football. We try and go through different things. The first question I will ask you though is, how did you get into football? How did you fall in love with the game?
Just from a very, very young age. My granddad, my mum's dad, Granddad George, had a massive influence on me playing football. Used to take me over the park, local parks with cones, poles, nets, when I was very young, and carted me all around the country, for all of the academy games on Sunday mornings and stuff when I was, playing for Blackburn and stuff. And it was just literally, there was never ever a question of whether, you were playing football. I played it from when I was sort of 7, playing for teams. But yeah, it was just the norm. Everybody played football, whether it was at the bottom of the street, over in the park on the Astro, or, on the grass type of thing. That was just the normal thing for a young lad from where I was from to do.
It really is, isn't it? This sport is really in the fabric of our nation. It's I'd be hard pressed to say it's found quite as deep in a society as it is perhaps in England. I think it's a hugely historic sport. But who did you support growing up? Because obviously, I know you've watching some clips of you scoring goals at Prenton Park suggests to me that you weren't necessarily a Tranmere fan. Who did you support?
I was an Everton fan. I had a season ticket until I was 16, until I started playing on a weekend myself. And yeah, it was the thing, I don't know why the Tranmere thing always seems to get brought up, obviously because of the way the game went there, but I played for Tranmere when I was younger, and I actually signed for Blackburn from Tranmere when I was 10. I think I was there about a year at Tranmere, training with them and playing games for them when I was a kid, and then went to Blackburn from there. But Everton was my boyhood club.
Who was your idol? Go on. Who was the player at the time you were growing up that you really sort of wanted to emulate?
Wayne Rooney. I remember I was at the game when he scored that goal against Arsenal. In the gold boots, he had I think he might have had the gold Umbro boots on, or he had the black Umbro boots on. And when he sort of went a bit bigger, he had them gold Umbro boots. And I remember there was a football shop on County Road called like Barney's or something, Barney's Sports on County Road in Liverpool. And I made my granddad take me after the game to get the boots that he wore, the gold Umbros. I was playing for Liverpool schoolboys at the time, and you were only allowed to wear black boots. So I turned up in gold ones. Didn't go down too well.
Yeah, it's amazing though, isn't it? Like the black boot rule. Like you look at a football match. I can't remember who I was watching the other night. But like I don't think there was a pair of black boots on the pitch. It's something that's changed quite considerably, though not necessarily that important. Do you still get stick in training if someone comes with an unusual colour of boots? Is that still something that happens?
No, I think it's very, very acceptable now for lads to have brightly coloured boots. I think I think if you end up in a pair of black boots, you probably stick out like a sore thumb now.
That don't exist anymore.
No, I don't think they exist anymore. You get blackout versions of boots, which I think are quite cool. There's some people, who are doing, full blackouts on certain styles of boots, which I think are quite cool every now and again. Especially if you've got like your black socks with your kit and stuff like that. But I just think now it's definitely a way of people like expressing their sort of individuality. Through being able to wear any colour of boot that they want. There's loads of makes and styles. I think Adidas have got 7 or 8 different styles and versions of boots. Do you know what I mean? And same with Nike. So yeah, it's definitely individuality is definitely a lot easier to celebrate now with even through something as so small as football boots.
Indeed it is. Now your career, it's interesting because a lot of people that come into football, they come through an academy system, they work their way up, and then they maybe go out and loan to some league clubs before either being released or getting a chance. You went through a bit of a different route. You went through non-league. You played for Southport. You played in the League of Wales. You played for Cowlin Bay as well, didn't you? Before eventually making sort of a name for yourself, I suppose, at Stockport County. That's where most people will have sort of first heard of you, I would imagine. Was that a big move for you, Stockport, because of the history of that club?
Well, yeah, obviously, Stockport were in that league for a reason. They weren't doing great. They had problems off the pitch. But I'd been at Fylde for 3 years, and I'd had a couple of little moves before that from Colwyn Bay where I played. Did well, both stints at Colwyn Bay. Ended up going to Lincoln, back to Colwyn Bay, then to Tamworth. Sort of make that, where you say I'm making a name for yourself in terms of, raising the profile, doing well in games and stuff. Went to Fylde because it was closer to home. Obviously, the manager at Fylde, Dave Challoner, was the manager of Colwyn Bay when I was there, so we had that relationship already. And I did 3 seasons there, and every season I played gradually less. And at this point in time, I'd started working in sort of sales jobs, business manager job, business development manager's jobs, and doing quite well. And going from a couple of different companies and working my way up through the company I was working for at the time. And I was literally, I remember saying to my girlfriend at the time, I think at the end of the season that'll be me, and I'm doing well enough in work. I'll probably just leave it alone. I've not really got the heart for it anymore. It was right at the end of me thinking about not playing anymore, and Jim rang me. I think we had the playoff final, and we lost to North Ferriby, and then Jim Gannon rang me the week later and just said, "Would you fancy coming down for a chat?" And I said, "Well, there's probably only a couple of teams that I'd have probably entertained, and it was the size of the club, Stockport, being something that I was quite interested in." I went down, and they were very complimentary of me. So I was at Stockport when I was 15, and Alan Lord, who was my coach then, was still involved at the club. He was still, dealing with Jim and helping him look for players, and that's where I sort of come about for them. And the rest is sort of history, as they say. I had an unbelievable season. What that club,
unbelievable! You scored some screamers that season, didn't you?
Yeah. I don't know. It was just, I think it was right place, right time for me at Stockport. I think I've been unlucky in certain clubs, but I think it all just sort of clicked in that season. The way Jim set his teams up just suited me down to the ground.
It's
the way
kind of
he
like
played.
a sliding doors moment there, though, isn't it? Where you're almost 100%. Thinking, right, you know what? There's a dimension somewhere where Danny Lloyd just left football behind and went on to be a business manager somewhere, and then there's this world where you made the right decision and carried on playing football.
Yeah.
And obviously, after the end of that wonderful season with Stockport, you got a 3-year contract at Peterborough United. And what was that transition like? Because you've gone from part-time, working full-time and playing part-time to then obviously going to becoming a full-time professional footballer. What was the most difficult part of that transition for you?
All of it, really. Because even though you say when you're a kid it's all you ever wanted to do was play full-time football, you'd never experienced it. I didn't know what it was like. I didn't know what the week entailed, and it was a bit of a shock, really. Even though I enjoyed every minute of it going into it, there was a bit of a shock, how it worked and the sort of off the pitch things you had to do to just keep yourself in touch with being selected. That was the off the pitch stuff really was the most difficult thing to get to grips with, because it's you play full-time football, it's not just playing football, it's the stuff you do off the pitch as well.
When you say off the pitch, do you mean like training, or are you talking about is there politics in the background of all these football clubs where you've got to impress certain people, or you've got to do certain things to keep your name at the top of maybe the manager's mind? I
definitely think there's politics in every business, internal politics in every business. And anyone that disagrees with that is lying, I think. But ultimately, if you're doing well on the pitch, then you don't really have to deal with any of it. But as I say, I think if I look back already, and I think sometimes I was unlucky. I think I've been unlucky at a couple of clubs. But I say, Stockport again was one club that definitely just clicked into the right place for me, and then when I went to Peterborough, I felt like I did well enough with the opportunities I was given there.
Was it 13 goals in all competitions for a man who's just come into his first professional season? What, about 3 tiers higher than you've been playing previously?
Yeah, it was something like that. I can't remember the exact number now, but it was around that figure. Definitely double figures. And I don't think I had many starts compared to actually the appearances. I think on the video you guys put out, it was like something like 40 odd games or something. But I think I think I only had, 20 odd starts, maybe a bit more, maybe a few more starts. Out of the 41.
I think everyone thought you'd done a blinder really at Peterborough. I mean, obviously Steve Evans coming in, that was probably a bit of a difficult transition for quite a lot of players, looking at the amount of turnover there was during that summer, that first tenure, and you were one of the players to leave. Now, obviously, we know that you were linked with clubs all over the place, some in the Championship. You ended up moving to Salford. Now, obviously, we're not going to talk about peanuts on this podcast. We've covered that well enough on our previous one where you were on. But it was a slight shock for everyone, I think, that you chose to go to Salford after Peterborough, because obviously it was seen at the time as a step back in terms of the division that you were playing in.
Definitely, I think if you look at it as a black and white situation, it was. You go from League One to playing for a team in the conference, but Salford weren't any old conference team. So people will look at it and go, yeah, let's step backwards, but I didn't see it at the time. And with saying that there was interest from a number of other clubs, which there was, Salford were the only ones to put an actual physical deal on the table. There was other clubs in League One, and a couple in the Championship. They're saying, we have to wait to get players out, and we have to wait to do this. And I think, in no uncertain terms, Peterborough, advised my representatives that it would be best for me to leave for me to play regular football. I wasn't going to be, offered that. Or offered, a chance of that. I was going to be, I wasn't going to be part of that squad moving forward, which was fine. That's, I've never ever disputed that. It was, it's the opinions of people at the club at the time that I wasn't going to be a part of that, which was not a problem. It's just business. So then for me, I was like, well, where do I go? And Salford have, contacted regularly over the time from when I was at Stockport, trying to get something done, and I just felt like again it was the right time. It all just clicked into place, and again, I went, and we got promoted in the first season, which was the plan.
Has it been frustrating in any way that you've played fairly regularly at League One level, done extremely well, and then you've had a little bit of probably less appearances than you would probably like at Salford over the this season especially, I'd say?
Yeah, I think no matter where you're playing, who you are, what level, it's frustrating when you don't play. And I had it going, I had me playing more regularly in my head when I come to Salford. But, I think you've just got to, for me, it's always just about going in every day with, the right intentions to work hard and just do it for myself, really, not worry about, the things that I can't control. I'm always a big believer in saying, control the controllables. And that's me going in every day, working hard, putting in good performances in training. When I get the chance to play on a Saturday, giving it 100% and take it from there.
Stepping away from football for a second, you talk about doing stuff for yourself, and an incident happened in 2009, which, as probably, I would imagine, I'm sure you'll tell us, has changed your outlook on life somewhat. When your older brother John took his own life, I can only imagine, not having experienced anything of that nature, how hard that must have been for you. And I think you're very brave and quite commendable that you're willing to talk about it openly like this. But just explain how difficult a situation that was for you. I mean, I can't, like I said, it's not something I can contemplate.
Yeah, I don't think anyone, unless you've been through something similar to that, you can understand, but you'll never really understand what it's like being involved in a situation like that. And it wasn't nice to be involved in a situation like that. It was tough. I say I was only young. I was only 17 at the time. So the first sort of 4 to 6 months after that were just a blur. I don't really remember much from it, to be honest. Where I was playing at the time, I had to move home. I didn't finish the season out with them because it was just numb, really. Looking back, yeah, it was just numb, just floating through days, not really understanding what was going on. And I don't think for a good 4 or 5, maybe even 6 years afterwards, it didn't really actually sink in what had gone on. And as I've got older, I look back on the situation and I see things in a different light through, experience and other things. And I think it's made me appreciate certain things a lot more, going through something like that. And, you can't ever look back on something like that without it being sad. But it's taught me a lot of good things. And it's helped me be a lot more open about things in my day-to-day life, and not sort of bottling things up and keeping things from people. And, always sort of, if something was bothering me, being open and trying to talk with it about to someone. I think that's one thing that, unfortunately, John didn't do. And, ultimately, it wasn't a great outcome for him.
No, clearly. And I suppose taking that view from what you've just said, I guess you'd advise anyone who's going through anything similar to talk to someone.
100%. One of the most difficult things was we never ever found out why. There was no, usually when people do that, there's letters, or there's, they leave clues behind. There was nothing, and we've never really had closure on the situation, which is, again, difficult to deal with. But, that's what's frustrating about it. You'll never really know. But there was clearly things that he was struggling with, and I just wish that he'd have talked to one of the family. Do you know what I mean? And it might have been a bit different.
How did you personally cope with it? Obviously, you said it was numb, but I mean, is it something that I suppose you just got through without even thinking about it?
Yeah, definitely. It was just one of those things. It was just every day you just wake up and just plodded on through the day for a good period of time. And I don't think I ended up playing for Southport in the September. So from the April to the September, I can't really recall doing much of anything. And I remember going to the first training session, and it was like a track day they were doing, like a running day on a track day. Not a great first session, but that's one of the first. When I look back, I don't really remember much of the after the event. Them few months, don't really remember much. I got one of the first memories I've got is going to do that track session at Southport, and just getting back into playing football again. And football was a massive release for me. It allowed me to channel a lot of my frustrations through football, and going in and training every day. It was a massive help for me. But yeah, it was just a very difficult period.
I can imagine. Well, thank you for speaking about it, because I think it's something that will help, I hope, people understand that if you're going through anything tough, do open up about it. Always talk to someone.
Yeah, 100%. And, it's really encouraging now to see, loads of men's organisations encouraging men that it is okay to speak out the problems and the fears that they're having, because as you're growing up as a young lad and a boy and a man, you fall over and you scrape your elbow or your knee and you're told enough now, no more crying, big boys don't cry, or big boys deal with their problems on their own type of thing.
Kind of macho world, isn't
it?
Yeah.
And I just think there's definitely cause for people to be able to speak about these things, and I don't think there should be so much as of stigma about it. It's okay for a man to have problems, very common. In fact, we're just human at the end of the day.
Hugely common. I think the numbers of men who did take their own life were surprisingly high. Just proving the fact that this is not having issues is not a sign of weakness, and that's something that we've got to eradicate, because that's something that
100%.
That lad culture.
That's what the stigma is. That lad culture of we're all big hard men, lads, and I just think that once you get past that stigma and you speak about your problems, you don't half feel better. I've had difficult periods in my short career since I signed for Peterborough where I've been really, really down, and been encouraged to speak about things and felt much better afterwards. And people will probably listen to this and just go, what is he on about? He's a professional footballer, he's just made it, how could he be unhappy with what's going on? And I always use this sort of use this comparison as when I was playing part-time and I had a bad game on a Saturday, I'd go into work on a Monday and I'd have a good day on the phones, or I'd go and I had loads of meetings booked in, and I'd go and I'd sell a few contracts, and I'd get the buzz back, and you'd go into training and you wouldn't even be worried about the game on Saturday. You'd be back on top after a good day at work, you're flying, you go into training and it's just positivity all the time. Fast forward to playing football and that's all you have. If you're having a bad time out the team, especially lads who have long-term injuries as well, it's hard. When you're not playing week in, week out in football, it is very difficult, because that's all you have. All you have is football day to day. And when it's not going right, it's not nice.
It's like your whole world is
it's your whole life. Yeah. What else have you got? And especially young lads, when they haven't got families and when they haven't got houses and mortgages and other outside interests, they're just young men trying to create a career for themselves in the game. When it doesn't go to plan,
it's quite a ruthless game as well, isn't it? Like
it's the most ruthless environment I've ever been in. I thought working in sort of corporate business would be, way more difficult, and it's really not. Football is cutthroat. To be cold about you're a commodity at the end of the day. When you're flying and your stock's nice and high, and you're a defender, you're playing well, you're keeping clean sheets, you're flavour of the month, you're a striker banging in goals. Everyone wants to be your mate. Everyone's pushing you and saying you're doing this, you're doing that. But you go through a dry patch, you start to notice certain people who are still around, certain people who aren't still around, and certain people who aren't still giving you a pat on the back and things like that. And yeah, it's a
funny old world, isn't it?
It's a funny old world. Yeah, you put it really, really, really well there, James. Funny old world.
Let's get onto a bit more light-hearted stuff for a moment. Okay. What's Danny Lloyd's favourite food? What one thing if I took it away from you, you'd be like, no, mate, you're not. Because for me, like, I guess I love pie.
pie.
Yeah,
Definitely,
pie
I'm
eater.
definitely not a pie man. I'd say if I was going out and having something, if I was going out for something to eat, it'd probably be like steak and chips and peppercorn sauce. Probably my best, my favourite meal. But then I enjoy loads of different food. Probably what we eat most regularly in our house is a mix between spaghetti bolognese and chicken fajitas. We have that quite regularly, especially when my girlfriend's pregnant. If that's what she wants, that's what she wants, and there's no arguing with a pregnant
That's
woman.
what she gets.
That's what she gets.
No messing with a pregnant woman.
Yeah, definitely not. No, I think you'd
Absolutely.
be a silly man to mess with a pregnant woman, I think.
Well, big congratulations that
Thank you.
fatherhood shall soon be upon you. It's an interesting world that you're about to embark upon.
Yeah, I'm getting me sleeping while I can.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, do so, mate. Do so. If there's one thing you're looking forward to about fatherhood, then what is it?
Just having a little mini me about the place. I think it's going to be amazing. It's weird. I can't wait to just have him home and just look at him and be like, I made you. Like, you're my blood, you're my flesh and blood, and that's the best thing for me. I can't wait.
Yeah, it's a magical feeling. Trust me, you're gonna absolutely love it. And just by speaking to you, I can tell you're gonna do a fantastic job as a dad. What is your favourite? Yeah, I'm sure you'll be fine, mate. Don't worry. What's your favourite TV show or series ever? What's the one series that you look back on and think, yeah, love it?
There's too many, with Netflix and Amazon Prime Video and stuff like that now. There's too many really good ones that are like
choice.
Just spoiled for choice. I've watched them all really. I've really enjoyed them all. I've just been watching the All or Nothing Dallas Cowboys, which I think is really good, really interesting to see how the family run that company, which is very interesting. Recently finished the Top Boy series, but I think if I had to pick one out of them all, I would probably pick, for me, Suits. I just loved Suits. Suits, yeah. I really liked it, yeah. I just liked the whole sort of idea of, high flying city, New York lawyer. That'd be something I wouldn't have minded to do. I was intelligent enough, to be honest.
Oh, well, there's still time, mate,
No, I think that the academic ship sailed a long time ago, I think.
Is there any particular player that you've played with you think is like the bossiest or the biggest character in your career? Who do you think you've come across that would fall into that category?
Bossiest? I mean, I don't know. Do you know what's weird? I've never really... There's a lot of moaners. There's a lot of big moaners and complainers day to day. But bossiest, I don't really know. I don't think there's many bossy men, really. I don't think that's a trait men have, to be bossy. I don't think. Biggest character. There's a lad I was at Peter with, George Cooper. He was a larger than life character, to say the least. He moved in with me when we lived together, and just a hilarious guy. Do you know what I mean? There was never a dull moment with him. Stick us two short planks, to be fair to him. Bless him. But yeah, what a guy. He was a top character. Tails as well. Stephen Taylor was a big character in Peterborough. He was always up for a laugh. Yeah, them two were probably standouts for me, really.
And I'd ask you this as well. What's the proudest moment of your football career so far? What one thing do you take the biggest amount of pride in that you've achieved?
Just making it. Just getting there, because, there was so many people when I was playing in non-league. When I was playing non-league that said that, don't think I'm good enough. You're playing non-league from sort of 18 to 25. There'll be people going, this is the reason why you haven't gone. This is the reason why you haven't progressed. You don't do this, you don't do that. And just making it and making me debut, probably, for Peterborough was something I always dreamed of doing, playing in the EFL as an actual professional. Was probably, biggest, most proudest achievement so far. Yeah.
One thing that really annoys me as well is, like, you get a lot of... I see some of the Premier League has become kind of like... For fans who aren't hardcore of Premier League clubs who've been there for years, it's kind of like where office guys go in and they talk about the stats of the Premier League. But if they talk about the lower league stuff, they think, all those footballers down there are a load of rubbish. But actually, for people who watch lower league football, the ability of players in, say, for example, just League Two, you have to be an absolutely phenomenal player to play a professional as a professional football in League Two. It's
100%, 100%.
Yeah, remarkable what they can do.
It always makes me laugh when you go to the pub to watch a game of football, and there'll be grown men watching a Premier League game of football, Liverpool, City, blah, all top teams, and they're shouting at the telly, he's useless, he's crap, and I'm just like, mate, you've got no idea what you're talking about. If you're playing in the Premier League, you are not crap at football. Like, if you're playing in League Two, you're not crap at football. Like, you are a very good, even the conference, like the standard in the conference, like of certain players who are playing in that league, it's a good level to be playing at. If you've played full time in the conference, that's a good level. I don't think there's, like, even though it's non-league, it's a very good level to play at.
Very different level than it was, say, even 10 years ago, probably.
100%. The National League has really progressed, and I think the lower leagues has progressed as well. There's, in terms of the way football is played, there's some cracking football that gets played in the lower leagues, Leagues 1, 2, and the National League. Really, really good stuff. And I think, with football evolving so much, and the Premier League becoming such a valuable business now, and ticket prices are so high and stuff, I think there's a lot more focus on the football, on the lower league now, and getting value for your money. And I think I would urge any Premier League supporter to go and watch a local lower league team, whether it be Leagues 1 and 2 or Conference, National League North level, something like that, even lower, and just go and sample what that has to offer. And I don't think you'd be disappointed. I think, if you looked on Tuesday night, at the Tuesday night fixtures in the conference, there was like 5-1, 5-2, 4-3, 3-2, loads of goals getting scored, really enjoyable games of football. And I think for anyone, it's definitely, value for money.
Absolutely is. We're pretty much out of time, but last question for you, Danny, is where do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
Hopefully still playing. I come into football quite late, so still feeling as fit as ever, very fresh. So 5 years' time, I definitely hope to still be playing in the league. Hopefully, if I'm lucky enough to do that. I've just started my coaching badges, so I'm doing that. So I would hope to be, sort of UEFA A level completed by then, and looking to sort of make the transition from player to coach. Definitely looking to do that, which I never thought I'd do when I was younger, but I think as you get older and you have experiences with managers and how you get seated and stuff, you always think, well, what, I think I want to go and have a crack at that, and see if I could do as good, or take things from each manager that you've worked with and incorporate it into how you think you want to do. So 5 years time, definitely still playing, maybe with one eye on making the transition from player to coach manager.
Well, you've certainly got the life experience that will put you in good stead to become a future manager. And as I say, Marco Silva's not pulling up any trees, is he, over at Everton? So they could be calling on your door a bit sooner than you think, mate.
Unfortunately not. I don't think that's ever going to happen, but we can all dream. We can all dream.
Danny Lloyd, thank you so much for being on 30 Minutes
Thanks,
With. I
mate.
hope you've enjoyed it.
It's been a pleasure as always. Thank you.
And I hope you've enjoyed listening, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks with another one of these. So thank you, everyone. And from me and from Danny, it's goodbye.